Am I the asshole for going to work while my wife was having her appendix out? My wife was having a ton of really bad abdominal pain last weekend. I drove her to urgent care Saturday morning. She didn't want to go, but I basically made her. Urgent care made her go to the ER, where they determined that her appendix needed to come out that day. She called her mom before surgery. Her mom must have told both of my parents as well, because all three, her mom and my mom and dad, ended up at the hospital to be with her during her surgery. Now here's where the conflict lies. I was scheduled for work at 5 p.m. that night. I've just started a new job that pays well. I only started it a couple of weeks ago, so I am brand new at it. I didn't want to call in. They probably would have been cool with it given the circumstances, but I still didn't want to do it. I didn't even have the PTO for it. I would have either had to take the day unpaid or gone negative on my PTO. So, while my wife was having the surgery, I went into work and pulled my shift. My wife is upset with me. She is accusing me of abandoning her. But I think that is unfair. She was having a completely routine surgery and she had plenty of company and support. It was unfortunate that I couldn't be there, and I feel bad about it, but it's not as if I'm a surgeon and could have made a difference. I had to work. Period. And I'm too new there to call in. The timing sucked, but my wife's health outcomes were the same either way. Her mother gets it and so does my father. But my mom thinks I should have called in. Am I the asshole? Info: what communication was there with your wife about this? Did you tell her how you couldn't be there? I think everyone here has valid arguments, and it was just a bad situation. Fortunately, it was a routine surgery and she came out okay. Congrats on the new job and all. I think the best thing here is to not try and decide who was right. Emphasize that it was a rough situation and you thought you were making a right call. Come to terms with future situations. Above all else, please leave your family out of it. Lol. Nah, maybe not the choice I'd have made, but you were in a tough spot with the new job. Also, you didn't abandon your wife, you made her go to the hospital when she was refusing to seek that kind of medical attention. If anything, you potentially saved her. You also knew she has adequate support around her. She wasn't alone. Nah. As long as her parents were there and you were there before and after, it is not a big deal to me. I mean, you just started the job and would like to keep it. You couldn't do anything for your wife and she wasn't alone, so I think it is fine. Not the asshole. Cook something nice. Bring her flowers. I would have said you're the asshole if both of Set's up parents weren't there. Nah. You have a good job and you are either forced to ruin your PTO and spend time with your wife in a surgery everyone has came to see her for, or keep doing well in your job. It's a very unfortunate situation and your wife has a right to be disappointed or angry, but no one is in the wrong. I think you're not tar for going to work. Seeing as you're new. It was a routine procedure. And she had care. What could make you tar is how you handled it. I.e., whether you were understanding when you said it. If you were just blankly going end of etc. I don't think she's the R for being upset either. It's how she behaves after. Which also isn't said. So going only by what's written. There's no R. However, maybe with more details. It could swing one way or the other. Leaning towards nah. I see what you're thinking. But appendix surgery isn't as routine as you think. This is something you should have discussed with your wife first and made sure it was okay. You weren't with her. Under the circumstances of starting a new year, you are not the asshole in this case. I'd not want my husband if I had one to call out from a new job. Not the asshole. Just my opinion with the given information. If I was the wife, I would have thought it's unreasonable for me to force my so be there in that situation. I already had support from family. In surgery there is nothing for others to do but to sit and wait for hours. I would 100% support my husband and his start in a new workplace. But I would of course accept him to come see me after he was done working. Now if it were a dangerous, risky surgery, would be different. But in this situation, nah. Your wife had 3 people there to support her. You are new on the job. I had emergencies come up but had to work or be fired. Bosses seem really supportive until you try to call in. She was scared but should understand, especially with 3 people there supporting her. Nah. It's fine for your wife to be upset and to wish you were there with her for your surgery. On the other hand, it's absolutely okay for you to be concerned. In America, that taking off from work so soon after starting a new job, without the PTO to do it, would jeopardize your long-term prospects with your new employer. These kind of trade-offs suck. I wish people didn't have to make them. I wish Americans had stronger worker protections. But we all have to make do with the society that we're living in, while hopefully advocating to make those conditions better. Nah. It's a difficult situation all round. New job stress, fear over surgery, etc. However, wife wasn't abandoned. Both sets of parents were there. In event of an emergency, they could have called him. Doesn't make her fears any less valid though. OP did right thing by taking her to hospital and being there before and after. I'm leaning toward nah, since she did have support while you were at work. You did just start this job, and while you had a valid understandable reason to call in, you had no way of knowing how receptive your job would have been. If you've only been there a few weeks, you are still in the probationary period. The only R here is the American work culture, assuming you're in the US. Gonna go against the grain. Nah. Yeah, you could have stayed. It is surgery, but you had very valid reasons to need to go to work. Also, as surgeries go, appendix surgery is pretty damn routine. She can be upset that you went. She's not an R for that. But you're not an R for having your reasons to go. Especially in this economy. A job is pretty damn important. You're the arsehole. It was important to her that you be there. That's your wife having surgery. Man. You could have taken off work all but the absolute worst workplaces would understand my wife is having an urgent surgery, but you prioritized your job over your wife. Not the arsehole. I would have been upset if my husband called out of his brand new well-paying job to sit in the hospital for a routine surgery. Not the arsehole. You were with her at urgent care. And it sounds like you were with her at the hospital before her surgery. But went to work during surgery. When there was nothing for you to do but sit in a chair. Nah. Not about taking a day because of money. He's likely still in his probationary period. Jobs don't care. They will still look bad at you about it. This is the reality if, like we're assuming, OP is American. I've seen someone be let go from a job because she just started and her gallbladder went haywire and almost killed her. They fired her. Keep in mind, missing a day can be a small fortune to some folks.
Am I the asshole? For not pushing my family to include my fiancé in Christmas card photos. I am engaged to my fiancé. Planning on getting married at the end of this year. My family takes a Christmas card photo every year. Usually around big events like graduations or parties when everyone is together, which isn't often. Years ago, my mom instituted a not until you're married policy to including SOs in photos. And applied that rule to my brother when he was dating. And engaged to his now wife. My fiancé has had significant issues with this. Last year, when the family took photos shortly after she and I were engaged, she directed many snide comments to me about how excluded she feels. This year, she flatly refused to drive with me to a family graduation, saying how hurt and excluded she felt by this policy since we are getting married this year and the card is coming out the year we are getting married. I've tried to explain that this isn't our card. This isn't our right to tell others who can and can't be on their card. And we could always have our own card to start our own tradition. She's made several comments around how surprised she is that I haven't stood up for her to my mother. Even telling me that she's discussed the issue with others and they also are surprised that I wouldn't take a stand with my mother on this. She also made a point multiple times to say good. Less time to spend on photos with him at the wedding. Implying a tit-for-tat response to this policy. I don't really know what to do. Am I the asshole? Weil should check out OP's other post. Info other than this. Going back to your last post. Is your fiancé still dramatically volatile? Berating you all the time and threatening suicide when you set other healthy boundaries? Oh my God. Never mind the verdict about this case. Your previous post about this woman only 4 months ago is horrendous and actually makes this little issue the very least of your problems. She's an unstable, controlling, anger-filled abuser. You are subjecting your family to a bad person. It's good she's not in the important pictures because she'll be an ex soon enough. You're not the asshole but man. Seriously reconsider this marriage. Info aside from the photos, how does your family treat your fiancé? Info is your fiancé still exhibiting the same behaviors from your previous post? Is she still blowing up at you randomly? If so, there may be a very good reason your mother doesn't want to break her rule for your fiancé. She's probably hoping you'll see how toxic this woman's behavior is and not get married at all. So you're constantly walking on eggshells around this woman and she's trying to stir up your family life. I think you should take a step back and re-evaluate before you marry this woman. I don't think you're not the asshole after seeing your post from 4 months age. I had to revise my comment. You should have mentioned it. Because it changes everything. I think your fiancé needs psychological help based on other post. I think, as others have stated, you need to at least postpone the wedding. If not, cancel it. You are not the asshole. I get why your mom put this rule in place years ago. The last picture of my kids with my great-grandmother has my brother's ex-girlfriend in it and they were about to get engaged. Your mom didn't make this rule new for your fiancé, so I don't know why she would be so upset by it. Is she being excluded in other ways? Not the asshole. This is your mom's parents' Christmas card. Your mom is the one with the rule requiring marriage before a so is included. Until she says, I do, she's not included in the picture. Your intended sounds immature and entitled. If this is her overall outlook on life, you've got a long road ahead. Full of conflict and dealing with hurt feelings caused by her get-even attitude. Think long and hard about this. Good luck. Not the asshole. I read your other post. Run fast and far from this woman. Based on your post history. Absolutely not the asshole. See this location flag for what it is and reassess this relationship. I was going to say YTA until I read OP's post history. OP. I don't understand why you are still with her. She's manipulative. She threatened self-harm. Then told you it was a joke. Run. Don't walk. She's going to make your life a living hell if you go through with the marriage. I don't generally suggest ending a relationship without at least counseling. But clearly it hasn't done anything to change her behavior. And not the asshole. Seems like everything is about her. Not the asshole. I just read your other post about your fiancé. She finds fault with everything and is very immature in how she handles things. You deserve a better partner in life. If she threatens self-harm, you need to call 911. I'm normally quite skeptical of Reddit and the bandwagon of red flag. Dump them, but 4 months ago they told you. And now they tell you again. Red flag, red square, dude, have you forgotten how you are always walking on eggshells? The person you marry should be making you feel like you're walking on clouds. Not the asshole. Bro. Holy shit. That post history. This never, ever ends well. I'm twice your age and seen it over and over. This is the kind of crazy even a prenup can't protect you from. I promise you, it's not worth it. Sir, I saw your other post. You need to get out of this relationship. Don't get married. Things won't get better when you get married. It will only get worse. And you will have a legal binding to her. Get out while you still can. You're not the asshole. But you do need to run. Dude, why haven't you broken off the engagement yet? I read your other post and you should still be running. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, and neither is mom. After reading your post from 4 months ago, I would strongly encourage you to rethink your relationship with this woman. She sounds abusive and manipulative. Read both of your posts. Sweetheart, she is not the one. She already makes you miserable and gaslights you about it. Self-harm is never a joke to use or threaten. Run away as fast and as far as you can. Not the asshole. Please don't marry this woman. Op. Get out now while you don't have kids yet. Have you read your post history again? A relationship should not be like that ever. Please take it from us and leave. Op. You're not the asshole. My dad has this same rule for a family group chat. I also went and checked out your post history. I think you're sucked into a toxic relationship. She sounds mentally terroristic, tbh. Not the asshole, and after reading your other post, all I can say is run. Not the asshole. I want to start by saying that I understand why she is feeling this way. It sucks to feel excluded, especially by the family who you are marrying into when you already feel like an outsider. However, her behavior is absolutely terrible. To suggest that they can't be in any wedding photos because she wasn't allowed in one Christmas card is ridiculous. She is going to try to alienate you from them the moment she has a chance. Info: will you be married before Christmas? Because if so, then there is no reason to not include your very soon-to-be wife in a family card. Holiday pictures are usually taken well before Christmas, so if your wedding is before Christmas, she will actually be part of the family by then. I don't think you realize how left out she feels by not being considered family. No matter how many photos you two are in, your mother is essentially saying you are not considered family. Am I the asshole for causing family drama over a swimming pool? So I know from experience that Reddit isn't the most understanding towards parents of young kids. But I really just want a third-party opinion because this situation is driving me crazy and my family are saying I need to get over it. IF30s live with my partner and our 2 kids, ages 7 and 3. My older sister Ava also F30s and her husband recently purchased a house in the local area. It's a super nice place with a big yard and, as you can probably guess from the title, a swimming pool. Ava recently hosted a barbecue at her place. It wasn't a huge event. She invited me, our parents and our other siblings. She mentioned letting the kids play in the pool, so I only assumed my kids would get to be included. We are potty training, although my youngest is still in diapers at the moment. At the barbecue, I was getting my youngest ready for the pool by changing him into a swim diaper. Ava pulled me aside and told me she doesn't think it's hygienic for my youngest to play in the pool, since swim diapers don't hold pee, and she asked that he doesn't swim in the pool with the other kids playing in it. I didn't think this was fair and told Ava that lots of people, adults and kids, pee in the pool and it would be no different at a public pool, so what's the problem? She was being really condescending and wouldn't listen to me at all and said that he can play in the pool when he's toilet trained, and said it's not fair on the other kids. At this point my son was crying because he wanted to swim in the pool, and I told Ava she was being cold, but it's her house and her pool, so do what you want. Ava accused me of trying to guilt trip her and told me to just drop it. I was getting upset myself at this point, and I told our parents and other siblings about what Ava did. They told me it's not a big deal and that it's not worth arguing with her over, and try not to let it bother me. I wasn't happy with this because this essentially means they're siding with her and downplaying how she treated me and my son. I left the barbecue early with my family because we didn't feel welcome after that. The next day Ava messaged me a whole paragraphs and said that she's sorry that I'm upset and that she wasn't trying to exclude my son for the sake of it. It was a super non-apology, and I told her I don't want to hear it and that she's damaged her relationship with her nephew, and Shush is not the one who had to deal with him being upset. Ava snapped at me out of nowhere and said I'm being dramatic. I told her to grow up and said that I have a very valid reason to be mad, and she needs to stop acting like a teenager. Ava showed these messages to everyone and everything's just a bit up in the air. I feel like I'm right here, but the rest of my family doesn't seem to agree. I'm not going to pass a judgment. But the sister is delusional if she thinks the 7-year-old isn't likely to pee in the pool at some point. You're the asshole. Told Ava that lots of people, adults and kids, pee in the pool and it would be no different at a public pool, so what's the problem? But this isn't a public pool. It's her private pool at her house. And if she doesn't want to risk having someone piss in it, she should be able to make that call without being argued at. Peeing in public pools is gross and wrong too. FYI. She really should have let you know beforehand that only potty-trained kids were allowed in the pool. Of course your kids were going to want to swim, and of course you didn't think it would be an issue. She should have given you a heads up so you could have prepared. Even not knowing this in advance. It's still her pool and you shouldn't have escalated it the way you did. Spoiler alert, someone still pissed in the pool that night. And it was probably an adult. You're the asshole. I get your point about the pool and about kids peeing in the pool without a diaper. However, your sister has every right to draw that line. And even if the swim diaper holds the poop, the kid still might poop in the pool. Ultimately, you're continuing to escalate this situation. You can explain to your son that the pool is for potty-trained kids. You need to accept that your sister doesn't want kids who aren't potty-trained in her pool. Which is absolutely okay. And you need to get over it instead of holding on to it. You're the asshole. Not sure why peeing in the pool is considered okay by a lot of people, but it's fucking disgusting, and your sister has a right to say no. Info: was she aware before the day of that your child was not toilet trained? I'm going against the majority and saying yes, it's her pool. Her rules. I fully agree there. However, Ava did tell OP that the kids would be able to play in the pool. She never said she meant only potty-trained kids. This really comes down to a lack of communication on everybody's end. OP could have handled the situation by trying to find a compromise instead of getting angry. Could the 3-year-old have sat on the pool steps and splashed around without fully going in the water? You're the asshole. Have you ever seen a kid have an accident in a swim diaper? I have. Nasty brown shit water is surrounding the child. The pool then needs to be drained and sanitized. And then saying she's damaged her relationship her nephew. Please, he won't remember. You need to get your entitlement in check. You're the asshole. You act like it's normal to pee in pools. Your sister put a very, very sensible boundary. You're acting entitled. You are right that other kids are for sure peeing in the pool. But it is her pool and she can decline anyone going into it that she likes. I think you are both being overdramatic. Capital O. And everyone needs to move on. The boy will be potty trained soon enough. Don't ruin a relationship over some pee-pee. Lots of people, adults and kids, pee in the pool. Yeah, but she's well within her rights to ask that people not pee in her pool, and also to ask people who can't help but pee in the pool to please not use it. That doesn't make her an asshole. You're the asshole. You're the asshole. Pissing in a pool is gross. It's gross when it's in a public pool. It's gross when it's in a private pool. All the people that say but there are chemicals to clean it. Piss in a cup. Then ask how much chemicals need to be added to the cup before they would dump that glass of piss on their head. It's just fucking gross. She wanted to keep her pool clean of your little piss machine. Frankly, after you made your thoughts on it known, I wouldn't have let your other kid in the pool either. My pool isn't for pissers. I'm honestly shocked by the comments. I'm saying not the asshole sister should have told you the rules in advance. At least then you could have had time to prepare your child for not being able to swim with the others springing on you at the last minute, literally as you're getting the child changed to swim. That's an R move. Nobody that knows how a pool works. Wow, these comments really do prove that Reddit does not sympathize with young children or parents of young children. Swim diapers exist for a reason. If you use a reusable swim diaper and a single-use one, you're good. They also have a filtration system in their pool, and I'm sure there is chlorine. In my opinion, they are overreacting and should allow a 3yo to swim. Kind of a dick move on their part to let everyone swim in front of a 3yo and not let them. Am I the asshole for not changing the chore system? I have a 9-year-old daughter. 2 years ago we started a chore system. She had a small list of mandatory daily chore that she has to do to teach responsibility and Contribute to the house stuff like make her bed. Take dirty clothes to the laundry room. Put dishes into the dishwasher. But then there's another list of more difficult or time-consuming chores that she gets paid for. Unloading the dishwasher is $1. Watering the plants is $1. Folding laundry is $2, etc. She has to pick at least 3 of the more difficult chores to do per week. But then she can do more if she wants to earn money. I think this encourages her to prioritize if she wants to save up for something or if she'd rather just play more that week. My kid is responsible and she usually does more than required and saves her money. As a result, she's able to buy herself the toys stuff she doesn't get as gifts. So the issue is that my boyfriend recently moved in with me. He has an 11-year-old daughter that stays with us every other weekend. He likes my chore system and wants his daughter to participate as well. That's fine, but she's there way less often, so my daughter usually gets to most of the chores. Especially the stuff that pays more. She also saves a lot, so she usually has a bunch of cash stashed in her room. This makes my boyfriend's daughter jealous and sad. He wants me to limit the chores that my daughter is allowed to do so there are some left for his daughter so she can earn money too. I told him no. He can come up with a separate chore list for his daughter if he wants. But TBH, there isn't much left that needs to be done. I get that he wants his daughter to earn spending money too. But we've been doing it this way for years and I don't want to limit my daughter. It doesn't seem fair to my daughter who lives here full time. I think her own mother can have a chore system at her house if she wants. But she struggles financially and can't really afford any kind of allowance. I don't think that's really my problem. Am I the asshole? Edit going to suggest we start the chore chart over on Sundays. Thanks to whoever suggested that. Also yes, don't worry, the amount paid per chore is going up this summer. That was the going rate for a 7-year-old. I have already been successfully renegotiated. She had a small list of mandatory daily chore that she has to do to teach responsibility and contribute to the house. He wants me to limit the chores that my daughter is allowed to do so there are some left for his daughter so she can earn money too. And that's the difference here. You are doing this so that your daughter can feel good about learning responsibility, and your boyfriend wants to do this so his daughter can feel good about having spending money. Not the asshole. Since she is only there every other weekend, though, I am sure you could find a special set of chores for her, like yard work or deep clean fridge or something to give her a chance to earn a bit. Let your daughter continue the regular stuff that is daily or weekly, and his daughter can do stuff that can wait 2 weeks to a month. Info: why don't Wild just change the day when the chore chart resets to when his daughter gets there, and then they both have the opportunity at the higher paid chores? Nah, but there are always more chores to do. Especially since his child is older. Clean the fridge. Dusting. Baseboards. It feels to me like I have an unending list of chores. I think with a little imagination you'll be able to extend the chore list to include everybody. Not the asshole. He can think up a few chores for her to do. Does she really want to spend the 2 days she gets with her dad doing chores? Not the asshole. If he wants to give her money for chores, then he can communicate with his daughter's mom and ask her what chores she does over there and just pay her for that instead of trying to limit what your daughter can earn. Or you guys can come to an agreement on a different set of chores that don't infringe on your daughter's chores, like loading the dishwasher, running loads of laundry, etc., especially because she's older and what's considered difficult for a 9-year-old shouldn't be difficult for her. You could give her her own jobs to do. She is older so she could do more. Clean the bathroom. Mop. Vacuum. Clean out the car. Etc. My 11-year-old mows the lawn. I find it hard to believe that these isn't more things kids can do. What about setting up the table for dinner? Vacuuming. Info. So she can earn money too. Earn money from who? Is he offering to pay his daughter for her chores? Or is he expecting payment to come from you? Nah, but you are being short-sighted. Your boyfriend is trying to blend your families and honor your tradition. His alternative is to just give his daughter spending money. Except that undermines your system completely and will build resentment between the two girls. That is your problem and you should proactively figure out a way to include his daughter. Not the asshole. I can always come up with more chores: clean windowsills, wipe light switches, clean washer and dryer, etc. Get creative with more things. She also saves a lot, so she usually has a bunch of cash stashed in her room. This makes my boyfriend's daughter jealous and sad. Also, tell your daughter she might want to stash her money somewhere else. Like you or with a bank. He wants me to limit the chores that my daughter is allowed to do so there are some left for his daughter so she can earn money too. He can create special jobs for his daughter. He has no rights. None. To tell you how to manage your daughter and her chores. He's putting his responsibility onto you to solve an issue he's created. You are not the asshole, but your boyfriend seems to be. Why can't he find her a chore she can do for him while there? Surely he don't expected her to work away the weekend visit. Why not have her vacuum or wash his car or help him with yard work or whatever chore he does around the house? If he does no chores, that is another issue. In this situation I don't think it matters WTA is. Do you see a future with this person? If so, his daughter is going to be a big part of your life moving forward. Me personally, I would increase your daughter's payout $2 per chore so she is not affected by doing a few less chores and leave a few for his daughter. I'm leaning not the asshole but also curious. Is he willing to put money in the pot to pay his daughter for her chores? Or would he expect you to? If he's willing, I'm sure he could think up some more things for her to do. If he's expecting it all to be on your shoulders, I don't fully agree with that. It's just something to consider for the future of a blended family if you're wanting him to be around a while. Not the asshole. I think her own mother can have a chore system at her house if she wants. But she struggles financially and can't really afford any kind of allowance. Sue. Why isn't your BF offering to pay for a similar system for his daughter at her mother's house? That'd be the logical way to handle this situation. His daughter gets to earn a little cash. Learn responsibility. It's a co-parenting win. And everyone should be happier. Info. If she is only there 4 days out the month, is it really that difficult to let her do something? Can she not share the chores with your daughter? That could be a good way for them to bond if you see a future with this person and you love them. This is the time to start compromising and family blending. Not the asshole. He can give his daughter money for chores he makes up. Not the asshole. Your boyfriend can figure out his own chore list for his own daughter and handle her doing those chores and making the payout for them. It's not your responsibility to be expending your mental energy on this and monitoring it. Am I the asshole for leaving dinner to get my son McDonald's, even though food was served? A friend of my wife's invited my family, my wife, our son, and I over for dinner with him and his daughter. As long as we've known him, This friend has kept to a very strict diet, which has almost always led to us eating over at his place. But he is an excellent cook, so I've never minded. We have not, however, seen him since both of our children were infants. For dinner, we were served salmon with quinoa and arugula. My son is very mild for a 5-year-old. He throws tantrums very rarely and is the opposite of a picky eater. But I could tell from how he was acting that he was not vibing with this meal. He was picking at his plate, shuffling food, and while he did try the salmon, he didn't seem to like it. I asked him if he was happy with his dinner and he said no. He wasn't. I basically said, haha, kids, right? And asked if there was anything else for my son to eat. My wife's friend said that his daughter just eats whatever he makes. So he doesn't keep kid food around the house. My wife said it was fine. Our son would be fine. While he is a mild kid, he definitely gets hangry, and this was the beginning of our night. So we anticipated being there for an additional hour or two. I said that our son needed to eat so he'd have energy to play and apologized, saying I'd be gone for just a few minutes, picking something up for our kid. My wife's friend seemed irked, but said he'd try and keep my plate warm. I was gone for about 30 minutes. Came back with a happy meal, ordered extra fries in case his daughter wanted any, which she was not allowed to have. By the time I was back, dinner was winding down. My son ate his meal. We had dessert, and he went off to play with his friend. It was definitely a hiccup in the night, but things went fine. We had a good time. But my wife was definitely cold with me. When we got home 3 hours after dinner, she told me that I was an ass at dinner for no reason. I pointed out that if I hadn't gotten our son dinner, he would have been a monster the entire way home. To which she replied that we would have left earlier. I said I was just looking to solve the problem as it happened, and that if her friend had been more accommodating, we wouldn't have been in the situation in the first place. She got offended on his behalf, and we decided to just go to bed because we clearly were not getting anywhere. It's been 2 days since. Things are still stilted between us, and I'm not sure where I went wrong. Am I the asshole for leaving dinner to get my son food, even though dinner was served? You're the asshole in the middle of eating. You left. He had some bites and could have waited 30 minutes for you and wife to finish the meal. You're the asshole. You were at dinner at friend's house. You left mid-dinner and went and got McDonald's. Not only that, but brought it back for their daughter to eat as well. You cannot be this clueless. I'm completely open-minded, but if you pulled this at my house, you wouldn't be coming back. You're the asshole. That was really rude, especially because they had a kid and you brought an obvious treat food into the house. If your kid is picky, bring granola bars along with you or something. And if you fail to do so, just handle it as it comes the way your wife suggested. If your kid was going to be a monster, you could have left early and stopped at McDonald's on the way home. And your kid wasn't even complaining. And there was dessert coming, you way overreacted. You're the asshole. That was extremely rude. And rubbed salt in it, bringing fries for a kid you reasonably should know isn't allowed them. In the future you should just keep a small box of nuts, raisins, jerky, and or crackers in your vehicle or purse when going over there. You're the asshole. Kids are going to be picky eaters. But at the same time your son is going to be able to survive if he eats dinner later than normal. And leaving to get McDonald's in the middle of a meal at someone's house is very rude. Yes. You're the asshole. It was rude. Part of having kids is dealing with them when they aren't getting their way. My 5-year-old gets hangry too, but we've never up and left or buy dinner after someone else made us a nice meal in their home. I assume your friend wouldn't remember several years down the road if your 5-year-old had a rough time, short of like breaking things or hurting the other child, but I guarantee your friend will remember when the food they gave you was ignored so you could leave and get McDonald's. Your kid wasn't even misbehaving. If he was, you say, "Hey kiddo, if you can tough it out and be on your best behavior, we'll get a happy meal on the way home." Also, I learned to love salmon as a kid. It's still my favorite food. You're the asshole. You're the asshole. Your kid wasn't going to starve. Worst case scenario, you could have slipped out after dinner to a grocery store and picked up some healthy snacks and left the dinner a bit earlier if needed to do a dinner at home. Parents teach their children acceptable behavior. You are teaching your child that if they're not happy with a dinner or whatever else that they are, number 1, activities will be halted by at least one person for them and they will be catered to no matter how rude it was towards the hosts for you to up and leave for 30 minutes. You're the asshole. You are not teaching your son to have good manners. My husband is a very healthy eater and some nights we eat like this. But when we have company coming we make the exception and try to ask our guests ahead of time if they think their kid will eat what we are making. It's rude of the host to cook something like this for a kid and not try to accommodate them just a little. Maybe a side of potatoes or broccoli with cheese. They shouldn't be imposing their strict restrictions on their friends without telling them beforehand what the dinner will be. You're the asshole. I know it's a child, but still. Someone makes a meal for your family. You're expected to eat it. That's how kids learn manners and to try new things. I feel it's rude to leave to get something else to eat for your son while everyone else is eating. Also, the guy's daughter not being able to eat fast food and having to watch your son eat it in front of her seems rude. Poor girl is missing out on the nugs. Did you not like the meal either? I'm just guessing since how you described the food and jumping up so quick to get your son food. Did you get some McDonald's too? Just curious. You're the asshole. I think the hosts were odd not to come up with an apple or something. They aren't required to keep frozen nuggets on hand for kids. But surely there was something they could have offered. Completely crazy to leave during dinner. Though. You're the asshole. It sounds like you didn't even bother to ask what was the menu. You literally left in the middle of dinner to get different meal for your child. Literally could have asked the hosts, "Do you have anything that my son can eat?" It seems like he doesn't care for salmon. You're the asshole as you know your friend adheres to very strict diet issues. So you knew in advance. It might be something your son didn't like. Would have been better to ask in advance or bring something for your son for a snack. I cannot stand salmon, so I have to admit I would have had issues with that dinner. I suppose I would have waited till dinner was over, visited for a respectful amount of time, then scooted off to the nearest restaurant. Unpopular opinion. Not the asshole. Restricting food from your kid when you know he will be hungry and upset just so your wife and her friends will be happy is not okay. I'm glad you listened to your kid and what he wanted in the moment. Someone with an eating disorder. You're the asshole and rude. Get some manners, dude. Am I the asshole for not throwing my husband a birthday party? I had my son a few weeks ago. My husband has been a huge help with taking care of the house, cooking and cleaning. I let him know frequently how much I appreciate everything that he does. My family also helps with taking care of our son. My husband's 40th birthday was this past weekend and he made it clear he didn't want a huge party. I invited a few of his closest friends and family to go out for a nice dinner at his favorite restaurant. A few people couldn't make it and it ended up being a very small dinner. I was exhausted the night before as the baby was up until 3 a.m. I did notice that my husband was quiet during dinner and hardly touched his food. When we got home after dinner, my husband looks at me with an angry expression on his face. He starts screaming that I ruined his 40th birthday. That him telling me he doesn't want a huge party meant that he did. I was so tired that I burst into tears and haven't spoken a single word to him except when it's about the baby. I'm starting to feel like the R for not making my husband's 40th birthday a better one. Not the asshole. Among adults, saying you don't want a party means you don't want a party and throwing one would be bad. Not the asshole you just gave birth. He can plan his own birthday party. Not the asshole. Adults communicate with their words and his words to you were that he didn't want a huge party. And you'd still be not the asshole if he wanted a big party a few weeks after you had a baby. I'm concerned for you. And I'm not saying that lightly. Not the asshole. I guess he expects you to magically know when he's lying. Not the asshole. If your husband wanted a huge birthday party, he should have planned it himself. Not lied about not wanting one. You just had a baby. You are exhausted, sleep deprived and your body needs time to heal. I'd ask him if he's having some sort of midlife crisis. When he wants something, he should be an adult and ask for it instead of lying about it. That him telling me he doesn't want a huge party meant that he did. Oh dear. That him telling me he doesn't want a huge party meant that he did. This is some teenage girl kinda nonsense. He's a grown-ass man. He can communicate what he wants or do it himself. X200B. Not the asshole. I had my son a few weeks ago. Not the asshole. Enough said here. A grown-ass adult screaming about a birthday party and playing mind games with you is major asshole territory. Not the asshole. Looks like your husband was looking for a reason to get mad. Not the asshole brew. If he wants a big party he should plan it himself. 40 years old and we not communicating clearly. Get him some clown shoes for his birthday. Not the asshole. Remind your husband you are not a mind reader. Not the asshole. He needs to stop with the word games. If someone told me I do not want, I'd respect that request too. You also just had a baby. You've baby brain. And tired and body still healing. Not the asshole. Huge red flags are waving with this one. He can't tell you what he actually wants. Whines about not having a party at 40 years of age. Seriously grow up and then screams at you for following his stated wishes. Just a few weeks after you gave birth. I'd be gone in a flash with the baby to go stay somewhere else while I draw up the divorce papers. Not the asshole. If he goes out and tells the waiter I do not want a rare steak, and the waiter then doesn't bring him a rare steak, does he blow up there as well? No. Of course not, because that would be completely loco. You did exactly as he asked. Nobody can ask for more than that. At least not without being a colossal ass. Not the asshole. Your husband is acting like a child. FFS, you just had a baby, why does he need to act like one? Not the asshole. Your husband needs to learn how to communicate what it is he wants. To be honest, I think you provided a very nice dinner and experience for him. If he wanted more, he should have communicated that or planned it himself. Yikes. Sorry to read this. Not sure what you could have done differently here. Is this response usual for your husband? Is it typically something you do for each other? Throw big celebrations. Congratulations on becoming parents, and I can't imagine how exciting and challenging that must be for you both. Not the asshole. Your husband should have been clear in his wants, expectations. Wishing you luck going forward. That him telling me he doesn't want a huge party meant that he did. No. Also, I don't know about your agreement on housework, but I thought it was already clear that helping at home was not enough. Couples have to work as a team. The yelling is just the cherry on top of his asshole attitude. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your hubby sure is behaving like one though. This is all on him. He told you he didn't want a party. How were you to know he was playing some mind-reading game? To me it sounds like he was looking for some reason to fight. If you had thrown him a big party, he would have been upset that you went against what he said. You guys have more issues than a party. Imho. Not the asshole. You had a baby a few weeks ago. I thought you were going to say you forgot his birthday. And you would still be not the asshole. Hand him the baby and say, "Here. Happy birthday. I made this for you." JFC. He could have said what he wanted to happen for his birthday and helped you make it happen. Not the asshole. That him telling me he doesn't want a huge party meant that he did. He said the literal opposite of what he meant, and there are plenty of people who would have not wanted a huge birthday party. What exactly would he have said if he hadn't wanted one? You both, especially him, need to work on communication. Especially if he started screaming. Not the asshole. I'm so sorry, Mom. Apparently you have 2 babies. I hope one of them grows up really fast. A 40-year-old man should be able to effectively communicate. Not the asshole. Tell him to use his words. Not the asshole, and he sounds very infantile. Now you have 2 people in your life who will throw tantrums. My regrets. Not the asshole. First, he's not helping you with the house. That's not your job. He lives there. It's his home as well, and it's his baby. Secondly, he's acting like a passive-aggressive teenager. He sucks. You don't. Huge help. You mean COPARENT. Not the asshole. Buy yourself a crystal ball. So you know when he's lying. Not the asshole. He is old enough to ask for what he wants and not play mind games. His overreaction probably came from a place of stress and tiredness as well. Your husband is a huge asshole. He should learn to use his words. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Fuck him and his stupid mind games. He's an adult. Why can't he just tell you if he wants a party or not? Not the asshole. Is he usually this unreasonable and delusional? Not the asshole. Is he 40 or 4? Sorry, but I have no patience for grown adults who one can't honestly communicate what they actually expect. And 2 need birthday parties after age 12. Not the asshole. Sure, a 40th is a milestone birthday and he's allowed to be disappointed, but you had a baby weeks ago and are nowhere near recovered from that. He needs to adjust his priorities.
Am I the asshole? For buying my niece a fake dupe of an expensive bag she wanted to humble her for once? My niece is very spoiled by my brother and Sil. She's an only child and also the first and only grandchild to my parents. Ever since she was younger, my brother Sil and parents gave her every and anything she wanted. Never said no to her. You get the gist. Due to this, now at 15 she is nightmare to deal with. Everyone just basically gives her whatever she wants because she's the baby. My husband and I are child-free by choice. We both have good careers and do very well for ourselves. I've always had an expensive taste when it came to clothing, jewelry, bags, etc. Important for later. A few weeks ago my husband and I went over to my parents' house for a family lunch. My brother, Sil and niece were there too. The conversations were mainly catered around my niece because her birthday was approaching. My parents asked her what she wanted for her birthday this year. She told them that she wanted this specific designer bag worth around $2,200 USD. My parents were completely taken aback and kind of started laughing, telling my niece that's a bit excessive and there's no way they're spending that kind of money on a bag. My niece then turned to my husband and I and said, well, you guys can get it for me then. You're rich but yet you always get me cheap gifts. My husband and I were both taken aback. The gifts we get her aren't cheap at all, at how ungrateful and rude she was acting. And also the sheer audacity of a 15-year-old demanding I get her $1,000 bag. My Sil jumped in the conversation saying how I have all these bags. And flaunting then around my niece is only going to make her want them. So pretty much saying, I made my bed, lie in it and get her the bag. I think they left the conversation think they guilt-tripped me into getting her the bag. Well, they were wrong. I hopped on one of those designer dupe wholesale websites. Ordered the bag for like $60 USD. The bag came in like 2 weeks later. I wrapped the gift and brought it to my niece's birthday party. Fast forward, she saw mine and my husband's gift and got super excited. She opened her gift and immediately her face dropped. She turned red in the face. You could tell the bag was a dupe. She asked us, what is this? Is this a joke? I said no. This is your gift. Maybe in the future you should be grateful for the gifts we get you. It's not the price that matter. It's the thought. My niece started crying, calling us cheap and embarrassing. My Sil had some not so nice words either. My brother, Sil and parents are upset because I let down my niece. And think I should apologize. I think she needed to be humbled. And that her parents should encourage her to apologize for my husband and I for demanding us to buy her the bag in the first place. Am I the asshole? Just stop buying her anything altogether. Info: how specifically did you think buying her a knockoff that would obviously just be thrown away was going to humble her? This will probably be an unpopular opinion, but I think your niece and her family are much more tar than you are. But the way you handled it seemed like you were at her maturity level rather than acting like an adult. As an adult, you should be able to set boundaries. Clearly tell her no. And get her something that you consider reasonable, or don't get her anything and tell her politely, sorry that you couldn't meet her expectations. Or, politely decline the birthday party. You all sound just awful, so I am going to blame the grandparents for creating this circle of shit. Does that humble her? How? They spoiled her. So they are ours for sure. But your gift helped nothing. Humbling her would be taking her to volunteer at a women's shelter or to feed the homeless. Your gift did nothing to teach her anything. Especially since it was a thoughtless gift. So, You can't even say the thought is what matters. For very, very obvious reasons. Your hilarious stunt did not teach your niece the lesson you think it did. Who in this family is setting clear boundaries for this teenager without resorting to childish pranks? You were right not to play along. But taking it upon yourself to humble your 15-year-old niece is fucking weird. 2. You would have been better off just getting her a reasonable gift that wasn't a deliberate slight against her. She could have just then been mad that she didn't get what she wanted. But the fact that you made a point to hurt, and I cannot emphasize this enough, a 15-year-old makes you also an asshole. I see what you tried to do. But you executed it badly. You didn't teach her anything. And just wasted $60. Bratty kid who is much too young for the status symbols she craves. Parents who don't clamp down on her. Relative who talks of humbling her like something out of David Copperfield. You are tight in principle but awfully sanctimonious. Humiliation only breeds resentment. Congrats. The best course of action would have been to not get a bag at all. Because getting a fake and misleading her is deliberately mean. I completely get you not wanting to further her entitlement and support that. But this wasn't it. If you're petty like me, large donations in their name to charities is always a good gift to give. But you're the least a joke gift. A firm no followed by a conversation that included words like spoiled and entitled would have gone further. But the niece and Sil. Oh wow. Major League R. She's in for a huge surprise in the real world. Thought dropped down a garbage chute by Oompa. Loompas wouldn't be out of place. You should have just said there's no way that's happening. Instead you played directly into their hands. Because now they can call you cheap. That child has obviously been failed by her parents and grandparents. But you aren't doing her any favors either by playing a prank on her at her birthday party. Telling her it's not the price. It's the thought after deliberately giving her a prank gift is not the flex you think it is. You're materialistic and antagonizing. She's materialistic and insufferable. I'm sorry, sister. But your daughter is both rude and entitled. So I'll ask you to let me know in advance if she's coming to a social event. Because I am not going to talk to her again. It's not the price that matter. It's the thought. So your thought is that it's worth your time and effort to prank a 15-year-old and hurt her feelings to teach her a lesson? She's not your daughter, so you're severely overstepping your bounds. Good thing you opted not to have kids. It's not your place to teach her a lesson. You embarrassed her and had to get one over on a child. To make yourself feel better. Everybody in this story sounds toxic. Your niece is clearly a spoiled R who is being enabled. Your sister is also an R for trying to shame and guilt you into buying this. You're an R for playing this prank on her. Does this girl need to learn a lesson? Yes. Was this funny? Also yes. Your niece will not be humbled by this and it only caused animosity. Am I the asshole for telling my brother he moved too fast for the outcome he ultimately wanted? My brother has a daughter, Piper. When Piper was 4, her mom died. My brother told Piper so much about her and they had some special photos of her mom that were treasured. When Piper was 6, she started being teased by this girl called Nancy 15F now. It continued on for over a year and ultimately came to a head when Nancy tore up a photo of Piper's mom that Piper brought into school for some show and tell family edition her class was doing. From that day on, Piper did not like Nancy. Because of that incident, my brother and Nancy's mom met. They became friends, and a few months after the incident where Nancy tore up the photo, they started dating and they married a year later. Piper pulled away from my brother when she found out he was dating Nancy's mom, and even more when they moved in together and got married. Nancy was actually happy and tried to get close to Piper. But Piper wanted nothing to do with that. Nancy's mom mentioned how being sisters would mend the rift, and I thought that was kind of crazy, given what went down. My brother only mentioned to me recently that he really thought Piper and Nancy would be sisters and would be close by now. But Piper doesn't want anything to do with Nancy still and doesn't trust her around anything important. I told my brother that's because he moved too fast to get that kind of relationship with them. I said he and his wife started dating and Nancy hadn't even apologized, and then Piper was still upset about who he was dating and Nancy being in her life more when they got married. I told him at no point did he try to make what happened better for Piper. He thought his marriage license would somehow erase the hurt Piper felt and the bullying Nancy put Piper through for more than a year. I said maybe if he had given it time, let Nancy apologize and given the girls space where they weren't living together to interact outside of school, things could have happened. But you had one child who was hurt and angry and another who was eager to have a dad and sibling after only having her mom. My brother said I expected him to let Piper dictate his life. I said no. Not what I said. I said if he wanted Piper to be happy and embrace Nancy as a sibling, then he should have taken things more slowly to get that outcome. He told me it was none of my business and I was overstepping and just his little sister. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Your brother began dating and married the mother of his daughter's school bully. Isn't this the plot of a 90s horror movie? Not the asshole. So many people imagine that if they construct a fantasy it will become a reality just because they want it to. My brother said I expected him to let Piper dictate his life. He gets to dictate hers, but he's not prepared to show her any consideration at all. He told me it was none of my business and I was overstepping and just his little sister. Why did he talk to you about it? What he really means is, what didn't you tell me what I wanted to hear? Not the asshole. He shoved aside his daughter's feelings for his own personal happiness. I think it's incredibly gross he even started being friends with the parent of his daughter's bully. Much less dating and then marrying her. Did they tell this lovely how they met story at the wedding? He's probably permanently damaged his relationship with his daughter. And your brother is the one who brought it up. You didn't just say this out of nowhere. If it wasn't your business, then maybe he shouldn't have been talking about it with you. He's just mad you called out his bullshit. This is going to come full circle when Piper goes low no contact once she is old enough to leave home. People do not magically embrace their unapologetic bullies because their parents decided to shack up and force them into a sibling-style relationship. This whole dynamic is probably a nightmare come true for Piper. You are right on all fronts. But there's very little he can do now to mend the situation. Which he massively fumbled. So I understand why he would rather play dumb. Not the asshole. He didn't like what you said because you were right and he knows that. Not the arsehole. Not the arsehole. Oh my God. Poor Piper. Not the arsehole. Brother is an idiot who alienated his daughter by falling for her bully's mom at first sight. No surprise he's also a jerk. Not the arsehole. Your brother put his needs before his daughter and didn't care what this would mean going forward. I think you're absolutely right. Not the arsehole. Literal nightmare. Having your own bully as a step-sibling? I would try to move out as fast as possible. Poor girl. You're in every right to criticize your brother in that aspect. Not the arsehole. You were definitely in the right to tell him what was true. Remember, she's your niece as well as his daughter who he isn't treating well. If he's not taking care of her, it is absolutely your business. Not the arsehole. Your brother is being ridiculous. He put on his rose-colored glasses and expected everything to be hunky-dory. He'll be wondering why Piper goes low to no contact when she turns 18. Be as supportive as you can be for her and be a safe space for her if you can. Piper deserves better, and she deserved better when your brother decided to marry her bully's mother. Not the arsehole. I'm sorry, but if that was my dad, I would view it as the ultimate betrayal and would be counting down the days till I hit 18 to move out and never look back. Not the arsehole. You brother trampled over all his daughter's feelings. He betrayed his daughter's trust the moment he brought perceived danger, her bully, into her home. He even feels entitled to the bully and the victim becoming friends just to make him happy. And it's you who overstepped? He deserves to be arrested for disrespecting all his daughter's reasonable boundaries, in my opinion. Edited for grammar. Not the arsehole. Thank you for having your nieces back. Your brother is thinking only of himself and his own needs. He probably thought that the teasing was just a little bit of fun and hasn't realized in all these years later the lasting impact it's had on his daughter. Why has he allowed the situation to go on for so many years without any attempt to rectify it? Does he enjoy watching his daughter suffer? Does he want to erase his late wife's memory, so is just waiting for Piper to get out of his life so he can enjoy his happy new family? Bad parents when they're faced with constructive criticism. Shush 0 ULDI. Let my child dictate H0WI. Live my life then. Not the arsehole. Not the arsehole. Your brother was impulsive. Not the arsehole. Shouldn't have come to you to whine about the situation. It's great that your niece had someone who stands up for her. Not the arsehole. He brought it up. So it's not like you jumped in with an opinion out of the blue. I hope Piper knows she can talk to you. It sounds like nobody in her own home is on her side. Not the arsehole. Piper prob feels as if her dad has abandoned her and gone to make house with her bully, replacing her mother to boot. I hope she gets all the therapy she needs. Your brother shouldn't have asked you if he didn't want to hear opinions he doesn't like. It must be very tough to hear the truth of what he's done, but nowhere near as tough as Piper has had it all this time. Not the arsehole. Be ready to be the cool aunt for the next 5-7 years. Not the arsehole. He's defensive because he knows that you're right.
Am I the arsehole for refusing to help cook after my wife cancelled my catering order? This weekend my wife and I are hosting a retirement party for my mom. We are expecting around 20 people. We are splitting the cost of food and beverages with my brother and his wife. During the planning process, I told everyone that I wanted to get the event catered so that no one had to spend a bunch of time in the kitchen cooking for 20 people. Everyone agreed this was a good idea and I told them I would take care of it. I placed the catering order last weekend. My wife and Sil have been handling the logistics, and when I told them the cost of the catering, about $300, my Sil made a comment about that being too high. I told her it comes to about $15 per person, which is basically getting everyone fed for the price of a fast food combo meal, but with much better food. Sil said that we could save a lot of money if we just cooked ourselves instead. The reason cost is an issue for Sil is that they just welcomed their second child 2 months ago and I guess they are feeling a bit pinched financially. I explained to Sil again my reasoning behind wanting it catered because I don't want anyone to be burdened with cooking for a large group and that I will gladly pay a bit more than our fair share, if that makes her feel better. That seemed to ease her mind. Unbeknownst to me, Sil and my wife continued talking about it, and Sil had taken it upon herself to plan an entire meal that we would cook ourselves for half the price of the catering order. Without discussing anything with me, they decided to cancel the catering order and just cook ourselves. My wife told me this last night. When my wife told me their plan, I asked them who would be doing the cooking, and she said me and her because Sil and my brother would probably have to be watching their kids. I told her that since she and Sil made this decision on their own, I am not going to help with the cooking at all. I said I would gladly watch the kids while my wife and Sil cook the entire meal for everyone. She told me that I am being a jerk and sexist if I think that I can just refuse to help and make the women do all the cooking. I told her that she and Sil are the ones who went behind my back and cancelled the catering order, so they get to be the ones who figure the new plan out. But I'm not helping. She said that Sil was concerned about the cost and that Sil confessed she was worried about money. I told her that's exactly why I had offered to pay more. But apparently that wasn't enough, and that Sil and my wife just needed to be in control of this for some reason. She told me I need to be more understanding of my brother and Sil's financial situation, and that cooking isn't that big of a deal, especially when we can all save some money. I told her that since it's not a big deal, she and Sil will have no problem spending as much time as it takes to cook for everyone while I will entertain the rest of the guests. She told me I'm being an unreasonable for not helping. Wife and Sil's logic makes no sense. If their cooked meal is half the price of catering, $150 vs $300, then Sil and brother are saving $75. And since you offered to pay more, they would be saving even more than that depending on exactly how much you would have paid. So they made hours of work for 2 people and volunteered you for the work to save Sil somewhere between $0 and $75. Definitely not the asshole. In that situation I wouldn't even offer to watch the kids. Brother can watch the kids and Sil and wife can cook. Not the asshole. $300 for 20 people is a really good price, and you offered to pay more. They made their bed, now they have to cook in it. Tears of joy. Easy, not the asshole. Your plan was just fine. Your wife and Sil made this decision by themselves. They can cook. That was rude as fuck for your wife to basically volunteer you to cook for 20 people. You offered to pay more due to your Sil's financial situation, which was a perfectly reasonable solution. Your wife is also out of line by bringing sexism into this when it has nothing to do with it. Cooking for 20 people is a huge undertaking. Ridiculous. Not the asshole. They decided it is cheaper for us to cook. We will just cancel the catering and cook. So now they get to cook. Not the asshole. The people who cancelled the catering order should do the cooking and not disturb anyone else. They can ask for help, but if it's refused, they need to accept it in good grace. Did they not have a plan for how to tackle this meal for 20 people? As my grandmother used to say, penny wise, pound foolish. Not the asshole. She cancelled the catering order. So she gets to cook. Has nothing to do with her being female. She and Sil made a choice that affects everyone else. Not the asshole. Cooking for that many people a lot of work. Offering to pay more is perfectly reasonable. Cancelling the order that everyone had previously agreed upon is not. So Sil decides that she doesn't want to pay for the catering. But she also doesn't want to cook. I don't think so. You gave a very reasonable option. Knowing you did not want to cook for this party. They don't get to change it up on you and decide that you need to now cook. Also, $300 for 20 people is an amazing deal for catering. The fact that your family thinks they can do better than that is bananas. Not the asshole. And hold your ground on this. I'd be livid if I were you. I don't care the gender of the person who cancelled the catering order without consulting you. That you wanted in part specifically because you didn't want to be in the kitchen for this party. And which you offered to pay more for when your Sil's financial concerns came to light. It is now their job to cook. The idea that they could unilaterally put you in a position in which you have to cook is presumptuous and, to use your wife's term, unreasonable. It's generous of you to watch the kids. Not the asshole. How are you being sexist if you offered to watch the kids? Isn't that woman's work too sarcasm? But anyway, not the asshole. They should have consulted you first. WTF, trying to cook for 20 people in your home is insane. Sil and my wife continued talking about it, and Sil had taken it upon herself to plan an entire meal that we would cook ourselves for half the price of the catering order. Yes. The food would cost about half of what the catering order would be. But what your wife and Sil aren't including in the calculation is a little something called labor. That was a huge miscalculation on their part. And it's not cool for your wife to volunteer your services without, actually asking you. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Volunteering your day without asking is not okay. And it's backfiring appropriately. Unfortunately, it's now also making you look like the bad guy to them. There's always a trade-off between DIY and paying someone else to do something. But your original catering idea sounds like a bargain. If you pay yourselves minimum wage for doing all the prep work, you'd be lucky to break even on this one. Not the asshole. Your wife and Sil unilaterally made this decision. They can unilaterally take responsibility for it. Does your wife often play the victim and immediately claim sexism for other issues too? Not the asshole. You offered to buy food. You didn't volunteer to cook. When Sil and wife cancelled the catering order, they volunteered to cook.